I'm Carl Anthony, managing editor of AutoVision News, and this is AutoSens Insights. Today, we're speaking with Dr. Sven Fleck. Sven is the co-founder and CTO of Obsurver, and he joins us here on this episode of AutoSens Insights. Sven, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Carl. Great to see you again. Thanks for having me. Yes.
Of course, always a pleasure. And we're going to talk about sensor degradation, which is one of the most exciting topics, one of my favorite topics. But first, before we dive into that, for our viewers who may not be familiar with Obsurver, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure, Carl. So what we see is that ADAS totally explodes in numbers, both outside and also in cabin in the vehicle. But there's a massive safety threat that is entirely unaddressed yet. So with Obsurver, we focus on automotive sensor system degradation.
And with that in mind, Sven, you had a couple of things with AutoSens this week in Brussels that you wanted to announce. So before we get in again to sensor degradation, let's take a couple of minutes to cover some of the important announcements that you wanted to make with AutoSens this week.
Thanks, Carl. So our mission is to enable true safety for such ADAS systems. And to this end, I would like to announce three things. So first of all, with this activity, we want to raise the problem awareness that this problem even exists. And second, so we are happy to have an AutoSens panel in this direction of sensor degradation, and very happy to be part of that. And as a third announcement, please feel free to visit our AutoSens booth together with our partner D-Space, where you see some radar degradation detection technology from Obsurver.
And so again, we want to encourage all of our viewers and all of our AutoSens attendees there to visit with Dr. Fleck at AutoSens in Brussels this week. Now, with regard to automotive sensors and degradation, let me just start at the beginning here, Sven. Just a kind of a simple question. Do automotive sensors degrade? Do they degrade, and is that a thing? Do automotive sensors really degrade?
Actually, yes, that's a massive problem, because each and every vehicle in the field faces its very individual exposure to sunlight, to environmental effects, and so on. And in combination for the whole pipeline, this is really crucial, especially with AI systems, where small degradations can lead to a kind of butterfly effect, like a data drift effect, which might lead to very unexpected behavior of the system in the end.
Of course. So now that we know for sure that automotive sensors do degrade, as you said, vehicles in the field, are there specific sensors that are affected? What sensors can be affected by this degradation?
Yes, Carl, the problem is basically that all modalities are affected. So it's radar, like you see in our demonstration, it's cameras, it's LiDAR, it's ultrasonic, so everything, both in the cabin and also outside of the vehicle. So there are many degradation things that might happen in the field. And the sensor itself is not capable to detect that it's degraded. That's the issue.
Right, and that was what I was going to say. So the sensor itself, if it's not able to detect that, then what happens if sensor degradation isn't detected or it isn't identified? What are some of the long-term impacts if it's not addressed?
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. So if you think of a premium vehicle looking nice, maybe a few years old, but still looking nice and shiny, where at the beginning it had its, for example, automated emergency braking, the AEB function. After some time, there might be a scratch in the windshield or some other color shift of the camera's filter and so on. So suddenly the car might change its personality and suddenly not brake anymore on a VRU, on a vulnerable road user. And the customer can't see it. Similarly for radar, like you see in our demonstration at AutoSens, if there's a paint job done that is thicker than normal or so, the radar can't detect that, and the distance is limited of the system, so it looks like through fog, although the driver thinks, oh, it's clear weather and everything's perfect. The system itself will not be safe anymore. And this is what we address at Observer to detect such misbehaviors and keep the car safe.
So Sven, are you one of the first in the market to cover this? Isn't sensor degradation already covered today, or is there not enough attention being paid to this topic?
Of course, there's lots of effort during development to ensure that sensors themselves don't degrade as much as possible. However, on system level, this whole topic is entirely unaddressed yet. So this is what we do. So we detect basically that if there's a change, that for example the AEB braking signal is missing, the car is not safe anymore. Or if you think of driving to a traffic sign, and normally it detects it, but over time it drifts away and doesn't detect it anymore. The system will automatically identify this as a misbehavior, as an anomaly in this kind of observer watchdog function.
Of course. So Sven, from your vantage point, how can we truly address this problem, and how can sensors be monitored? How can we accomplish this?
Carl, there are actually two ways of coming forward. One is in this periodical technical inspection way, so the PTI, where the car is regularly inspected every 1 or 2 or so years. So up to now, of course, the brakes are inspected, everything is totally fine. However, such sensor system degradation is not touched at all yet. So this is a big gap. So if the camera, for example, doesn't report a brake signal anymore, the car doesn't stop anymore, although the car is visually still fine and shiny and everything. And this is one way of detecting it in such a PTI environment by comparison to previous reference measurements or to measurements of other vehicles that have a similar system. The other option is online watchdog technology, where it's monitored on the fly to see anomalies on each and every sensor modality and also on the fused output.
Thank you, Sven, for that explanation. And again, I always enjoy talking with you about sensor degradation, the importance of it. It's sometimes I think it's something we don't always think about, but once you put it out there, just as you did and explained it so wonderfully, it makes sense. And it's something that we as an industry most certainly need to address. So for a moment though, I want to put the sensor degradation aside, since we've really covered that. You, Sven, are also an expert in just ADAS as a whole and automated driving as a whole. So we know that sensor degradation is a challenge. In addition to that, what are some of the other challenges that you see right now with ADAS and automated driving?
So Carl, I think the challenge is, one of the challenges is that there's not such a clear mapping anymore of sensor systems and functions. So now the same sensors have to fulfill multiple functions at the same time. It's not a one-to-one mapping anymore. So when you think of in-cabin functions, but also outside, the same sensors have to serve both a viewing purpose, or image quality for viewing is a crucial topic where we are, of course, also active as a community in IEEE 2020. But at the same time, the same sensors have to serve for computer vision. And this is quite a challenge because these requirements from both ends are quite different at some point. And also the safety topics come in more and more, where comfort functions get more and more serious. And this is also the reason why Observer is trying to enable true safety for these ADAS systems, not only in this new SOP state, but also after 10 or 20 years of a car's life.
Of course. Sven, as we get ready to conclude, are there any final thoughts, anything you'd like to cover one more time for our viewers?
I really want to point out that this is an unaddressed problem, this degraded sensor topic. So please feel free to visit our booth at AutoSens, and I'm very happy to to go through the details there. Thank you.
Of course. And again, we want to encourage all of our AutoSens attendees to visit with Dr. Fleck. He is the co-founder and CTO of Obsurver. He joins us today on AutoSens Insight. And Sven, from all of us here at AutoSens, we want to wish you the best of luck going forward, and we'll look forward to seeing you at a future conference. Want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Carl. Thank you.
For more great AutoSens content, visit our website or our YouTube channel. Just search AutoSens.